So if you're like me, you've gotten your 2020 census form in the mail, you've taken it here, and you've put it in your to-do list, and that's where it still sits. Well, joining us today is Nubia Enriquez, and she says you must get to these forms and fill them out. Good morning to you, Nubia.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're so glad you're here. So why is it so crucial and important that I get to that quickly and send that in?
Absolutely. So it's so important for everybody to fill out their 2020 census form. It's through census data that local communities get billions of dollars in funding every year. And the census only happens every 10 years. So what we do today is going to have an impact on funding for our communities for the next 10 years. So that's why it's so important for people to fill it out. And also it affects representation, political representation. Census data, population counts will determine how many seats our state gets in the House of Representatives. So that's another reason why it's so important.
I am so glad you're sharing this information, because I literally just thought it's just to keep, it's a numbers game, just to see how many people are here, how many people are living in this certain household. So who should be participating?
Every single person living in the United States should participate in the census. I always say that it's the most democratic process, because it doesn't matter where people come from. It doesn't matter how long they've been living here. If they were living in the U.S. on April 1st, they should be counted on the census. So the census counts everyone. And I definitely want to reiterate for people not to forget, to count their children. For some reason, in the last decade, people forgot to count their kids in the census. So we like to remind people, please count your babies, please count your kids. Everyone living in your household on April 1st of this year should be counted in the 2020 census.
Okay, and I just want to confirm, like, it's not if you are pregnant and having a baby, you must actually already have had the child.
Absolutely. You must have had the child by April 1st of this year.
Okay, wonderful to know. And you know, if you're like me, I have a little bit of a hard time with snail mail. It's like, oh, I have to go maybe find a stamp, or I have to fill this out, put it in my mailbox, and it just becomes cumbersome for me. Is there a way to go online and actually do this?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for bringing that up, because this is actually the first decade that people are able to answer the census online. So people can go to 2020census.gov to answer online. They can also do it on the phone. And then if they can, put their questionnaire in the mail if they'd like to. So those are three different ways that the census before actually having to come in contact with the census worker.
Okay, so I have to be honest, I haven't even actually looked at the questions yet, and I don't know how confusing it actually is. But if people have trouble filling it out, is there a resource for them?
Absolutely. So actually today until 10 a.m., we have census response assistants waiting to help people. So there's a number on the screen that people can call, and up until 10 a.m., you can call and actually get a person to help you fill out your census form.
Fantastic. You've made it so easy for all of us. So Nubia, I know it raises a lot of money. Where does the monies actually go? Do they go to school districts? Where do they go? Where does it go?
So this is the census determines where federal funding goes, and then once it gets to local communities, it's determined that way. But yeah, it goes to roads, it goes to schools, it goes to hospitals, to emergency services. Practically every single service that we touch as citizens, where we live, is actually impacted by the census. So that is why it's so important. So all this funding comes to our local communities based on census data.
Thank you so much for this great information. I am filling mine out today. Definitely want to help the communities and help all of us. So thank you, Nubia Enriquez.
Thank you very much.